Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. This is How to Draw video number 90. I have decided to start numbering these things so that people will consider going to the official playlist. I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this video, also at the end of the video, and various different ways if you want to check that out to see all 90 of the different How to Draw videos that I've done. But let's go ahead and get into this one. I'm going to be showing you how to draw a pose using guidelines and building it up from the very most basic lines towards something a little more finished. I'm using as an example my character Talia from Brody's Ghost. So I'm going to start here and draw the head of this character. And it is sort of just a basic egg shape. And now, you know, part of the reason that I'm doing this video is that I had heard from someone who said, you know, Mark, you need to do more guidelines for the beginners. And so that's kind of the goal of this video, is to do one in which I really do start with very basic guidelines. So I've got the head here, and then I'm going to go back across drawing sort of a stick figure, which I've almost never done in any one of these videos before. It's a pretty common way of teaching figure drawing, and some people find it useful, other people hate it. So if you hate this way, this approach of using a stick figure to begin with, you know, by all means, you skip this part when you want to draw a figure of your own. But for the rest of you, especially those of you who are having trouble drawing even the most basic figure, feel free to follow along with this, and hopefully it'll help you. So I am drawing like a stick figure. This is the spine. This is a line across the shoulders. You will, of course, want to pay attention to the width of that. It is maybe just a little shy of the top to bottom of the head. Going across here, roughly equal distant lines. And I'm just going to draw a very loose sort of oval shape here where we will eventually draw the hands. I think part of the reason that a lot of people don't like this approach is it just looks, you know, weird to start with this very skeletal looking line. And to be honest, when I sit down to draw my own comics, you know, my published graphic novels, I am not using necessarily this technique. I sort of view this as something for the beginner to get started. So I've done kind of the same thing, you know, again, roughly equal lines here, equally distant, and then a little oval shape here. Now I'm going to go down here and draw a line for the pelvis. Something kind of funny about the word pelvis. Makes me think of Elvis. Elvis the pelvis. Thank you very much. Half the people are like, Mark, please, don't you ever do an Elvis impression again. So I'm drawing another line down here. This is going to be sort of the line of the thigh, and going to have it cut all the way back across. It's just a slight bend to this. You know, when I draw Talia, my ghost character, there is a way I've sort of noticed over time that I tend to draw her legs, with one of them being relatively straight. This is the relatively straight one, and then another one kind of being bent back. And so watch how I do this. This one is going to come down like so, and you'll pay attention to the angle as you do this if you want to repeat this exact same pose. You know, some of you may be just watching these videos to get general pointers. I hear from people like this, like, I don't follow along line by line with everything you do. I'm just sort of watching, getting general pointers, and then applying them to my own work, which I think is awesome. That's a great way. But you know, a lot of times it is cool for those who really want to build some confidence to do line by line and follow along. So hopefully, even for the beginner, that this is not too tricky of a thing to do. I kind of laugh about the fact that some people almost pride themselves on somehow saying, I can't even do that. You know, I understand the frustrations of the beginner that finds even something like this challenging. But in any case, if you do want to learn how to draw a pose, you're going to have to grapple with some pretty difficult stuff. Let's go ahead and move on. I have a bad habit of letting these videos go on and on forever. I want to show you how to sort of flesh this out a little. Why don't I zoom in just a little? I'll zoom into just like this area here so as you can get a better look at it. Okay, so here's the crucial next step. As we have this sort of skeletal framework here, I'm going to try to start building the various limbs and body parts off of that frame. And again, people who dislike guidelines, it probably drives them a little crazy, because it's sort of like, well, why did I bother to draw this line if you're just going to draw other lines around it and then eventually erase that line? And, you know, I have a fair amount of sympathy with that point of view. If you are good enough that you can just sort of skip that initial line, then, you know, by all means do. In any case, I'm drawing the neck here, trying to pay attention to the width of the neck. This is a female character, so it's not going to be, you know, you're not going to make a super big, thick neck. Otherwise, they look like a football player or something. I made one video where a year or two back where the shoulders, I was drawing a female character, and the shoulders were way too wide, and people were just like, she looks like a football player. What did you do, man? And actually that, you know, educated me about the importance of focusing on getting that proportion right. Now, we're going to move on to drawing the torso, the upper torso here. And this kind of come across here, you know, part of her arm that I've drawn here is going to be completely obscured by the torso. I'm drawing a kind of a rough guideline of the waist here before drawing one of the thighs. Now, coming across here, this is where we really are breaking away quite a bit from that skeletal line to give her you know, nice curvy shape down here. The part of the character of Talia is that she is supposed to be, you know, fairly shapely as a character, and people will. Part of my idea was that they would look at this character and make a certain judgment about what kind of a character she's supposed to be. Oh, she's very shapely. She's going to be this sort of sexy character or whatever. And then when you read the actual story, Brody's Ghost, you find that there's more to her than that, and I sort of like the idea of surprising people that way. But anyway, if you want to draw a shapely character like this, you are going to have to break away from that first skeletal line and give quite a big, you know, width there on the thigh. And people have their different preferences here, that they may want that to be narrower. I see a lot of manga style drawings where the thighs of the female characters are very, very narrow in a way that is just sort of like impossible. But you know, it's sort of a certain look. And speaking of shapeliness, she does indeed have a foolish figure. I think artists can get carried away with making these ridiculously large breasts. I definitely stay away from objectifying the character to quite that degree. But like I said, this part of this character was to sort of give people this feeling of, oh wow, she's this sort of shapely character. So I did you know, to some degree give her a shapeliness in this part of her body. Everyone's always like, Mark, you get really like nervous and awkward when you start talking about this stuff, and I think I'll fast forward through this part. I'm too embarrassed to hear you talk about this stuff. In any case, I'm going ahead and drawing this other arm that comes back. Like I said, it's pretty much obscured by the rest of the body, and I probably should refocus the camera again. But while we're in here, actually, let's go ahead and do a couple of lines across the face for where the details of the face are going to be. Now, people may get frustrated with this video in that I'm spending a lot of time on these bare basic lines, and I think inevitably I'm going to have to fast forward through some of the details. You know, if I'm like, here's the fingernails and here's the cuticles, you know, it's going to get kind of crazy. But let me just sort of put in some circles here for where the eyes are eventually going to go. That's what those guidelines are for. And you know, just sort of the basics of where some of the, like the nose and the mouth and that kind of thing might go. We'll drop in the ear at this stage. Only one of them is going to be visible in this pose, and hopefully that's enough for that. Let's kind of pull back and do the rest of the legs so that you can see what I do in that area. So actually, I think really the only thing we have left to do is this lower leg over here, and just wanting to make sure that it tapers down towards the ankle. It can be a little tricky to figure out the width of this. I want to give just a little more width to the calf area. He erased. He's erasing. I've never seen him do that before. Every video I do, somebody makes that comment. In any case, going to go ahead and finish off the foot here. That could be a video all on its own, sort of like how to draw the foot. In fact, I have done 1 or 2 videos that cover that. So go ahead and, as I said at the beginning, go back to the playlist, see if you can find my video on how to draw feet. I could certainly stand to do more. And I'm already starting to edge my way into drawing a little more of the details of the sole of the boot and so forth. And that is definitely the next part of this process, to start further refining. You know, like I had this sort of egg shape or whatever, very ovally shaped here. I'm going in, I'm beginning to refine a little more toward the actual shape of the foot. Now, again, a video that's about an entire pose like this just becomes kind of tricky, because people say, well, how do you know the shape of the foot? Well, it comes from, you know, years and years of practice on these various parts of the body and getting a sense of where these things go. So I'm not going to be able to do full justice to absolutely everything in this video, but I want to sort of give you some general pointers that you could apply to drawings of your own. This is going to be her skirt, kind of coming across here. I suppose if she was wearing jeans or something like this, I could kind of show you how that would look before I add the skirt that's going to cover all that up. And maybe it's time to pull back, but before I do that, I guess I'll show you what you would do at this stage if you have drawn those that sort of skeletal guideline that I talk about, that sort of stick figure kind of guideline. You're going to have to erase that at some point, and this is the very thing that I think a lot of people hate. The people who don't like guidelines, they hate this whole thing. They're like, well, why, why did I draw these lines that I'm just going to erase? That's crazy, man. You're just like wasting my time. But it is, I think, for beginners, it's a useful thing. Certainly when I was first learning how to draw, I did use this process to some extent of starting with a stick figure and going from there. Let me know what you think about it. Do you want me to do more videos like this, less videos like this in terms of using a stick figure? Please leave your comments in the comment section so I can get a feel for how people like, you know, is it helpful? Do you feel like it's a waste of time? Am I completely and utterly failing you as a YouTube video creator? Go ahead, just leave it in the comment section. I'll read them all, I promise, and you know, respond accordingly. I want to make the videos that you guys want to see. I really do. Let's pull back, or maybe shift over and show you just a little more in terms of heading towards final line work. And then we're going to, I think, inevitably have to time-lapse through some of the final details. But let's go ahead and do just a little more in real time. All right, so I'm going to, I've erased, again, some of those first stick figure guidelines, and now I'm going to go in and show you how you can take this oval and sort of refine it into a hand. Again, that would, you know, I could spend a whole video, and I have done a number of videos on drawing the hand. I can always do more, I'm sure, but if I were to go into real line-by-line detail on this, it would just probably become, you know, make the video go on for too long. But basically, I can show you how I'm building off, you know, the thumb comes all the way off of that first oval that I drew, but the fingers are kind of built right on top of it. And you're always trying to, especially with a feminine, you know, a female character like this, give a certain grace, elegance to the hand. Comes with experience and time. Not that I'm all that great at it, but there is something about having the fingers part. I often see that it almost looks like Star Trek when they say "live long and prosper," and they sort of do this thing with the. Am I doing that? Is that no? They go like that, don't they? It's sort of like this. You very often see the two center fingers kind of come together, and then like here, I'll erase just to make it a little more exaggerated, and do the sort of raised pinky. That always sort of looks a little elegant when you see that pinky coming off like that. Anyway, I hope that's coming through. Don't know if it really is. And then at this point, I will start to add some of the details of the clothing. Talia, my character, my ghost character from Brody's Ghost, has a very set clothing design. I imagine her as wearing this sort of T-shirt that is very high on the waist. And then underneath that, it's like she's got an undershirt or undergarment of some kind that actually comes all the way down across here, and I make that a little bit frilly. I spent quite a long time devising this character, coming up with her look. I wanted her to have a very specific look, almost more so even than the main character, Brody. And, let me know. At first, I was considering doing a video that was entitled, How to Draw Talia from Brody's Ghost, because I almost never do videos, oddly enough, showing people how to draw my own characters. But then I thought, boy, that's pretty limited if I'm just doing, here's how to draw Talia. I thought it would be better if I widened it out and said, here's how to draw a certain pose using guidelines. I guess I could go ahead and do this other hand. This is already shaping up to be one of my super long videos. But this is seen from a different point of view. I'm doing the thumb, I'm doing the sort of pointer finger, and I find that this pose is this way of drawing the hand is a little easier for me, because all I got to do is get the thumb right, get this finger right, and then I can kind of just sort of drop back a couple of fingers that you barely see in the background. And again, this is not so much going to be about the hairstyle. In fact, let's just skip Talia's hairstyle, because that is something that's going to, if you use this pose for your own character or whatever, you're going to change that hairstyle anyway. But I'll go ahead and do the basics of the eyes. I have done lots of videos on how to draw faces, and I will continue to do more of them, and that's why I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'll just say this about Talia. She tends to have a kind of sassy look, and what that involves is giving these slightly angry eyebrows and combining that with a hint of a smile, which I think somehow conveys mischievousness. And actually I feel like I'm not getting these, he's erasing, I'm not quite getting these in the right place, and I think I need to erase and start over again. I think with the face, the relationship between the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the chin, and so forth is just really always a challenge. I'm always struggling with it. So if you struggle with it as well, don't be hard on yourself. It's just always a challenge. And that's probably it in terms of going through line by line and showing you how to turn a stick figure pose into an actual fully rendered or mostly rendered pose. I am gonna have to kick it into time lapse at this point, friends, and finish this drawing off all at lightning speed with a bit of music in the background, as I love to do. But let me know what you thought of this video, and if you would like me to do things differently for a future pose video. I think it is important to periodically do videos about poses like this. I know people struggle with it. I certainly do. But it is challenging to cover such a wide variety of topics all in one video and have it not just go on and on and on. So I'm going to go ahead, kick it into time lapse, and we'll be back with some final words when I finish off the drawing. Alright, well, there's my video on how to draw a pose using guidelines. Please let me know what you thought of it, because I'm sort of struggling with what's the best approach to teach this. If you hate guidelines, go ahead and say that in the comment section. Crilly, I hate guidelines. I don't use them. I don't need them. If you are a fan of guidelines, just leave the opposite. It would be like, dude, guidelines are awesome, Crilly. I use them every day right before I go surfing. So keep on rocking, man. Keep on rocking in the free world. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video, as I always do, by thanking anyone who has supported me by getting Brody's Ghost. That's where Talia comes from, come to think of it. We've got 3 books in that series, working on the 4th one, 6 of them planned, and then Miki Falls. There's 4 books in this series, all 4 of them already out there, and Mastering Manga, my instructional how to draw manga book. I greatly appreciate you supporting me by getting my books, by subscribing, by leaving comments, by telling your friends about the videos, anything you do on my behalf. I greatly appreciate that. But let's end this video. I want to thank you for watching it. I hope you found it useful, and I'll be back with another one real soon.